All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with a little 49er video as we look at additions that the 49ers potentially could make on this final week before the 53-man roster cutdown takes effect next Tuesday. And of course, we're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. We're also brought to you by Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles. They're at 205 Cypress Avenue in Pacific Grove, California, on the Monterey Peninsula. Call Anthony Catania. He's at 831-521-5264. Or follow him on Instagram at SharpCorners831 on the gram. All right, let's talk about additions I could see the Niners making this week. Niners looking for running backs. Everybody in the running back room is hurt. Niners looking for receivers. They tried to trade for John Mechie, and Eagles outbid them. Niners looking for more pass rush and possibly some defensive playmakers. Let's talk about some guys who could be available to them this week, either via trade or at the cutdown. Let's talk first about running back. Brian Robinson of the Washington Commanders, according to reports, is available. The Niners' big dilemma this year, and really this entire regime since they've had Christian, is can you get to the playoffs or Super Bowl Sunday with a healthy Christian McCaffrey? And Niners haven't been able to do it. They always run him into the ground, and then by the time they get to the playoffs, he's a shell of his former self. He got to the Super Bowl, but he fumbled because he was totally gassed. They have to get a better RB2 and ride that player consistently in the regular season so that Christian can be the Christian that we know he is in the playoffs. He's not a bell cow back. He's one of the NFL's most dangerous players, but he's not a bell cow guy. He's not a guy you can feed 25 times a game all season long and have him standing at the end of the year. So get yourself a big-time number 2 back. Right now, RB2 is probably either Guerendo, who's perennially hurt, or Corey Kiner, who's a rookie and who's also hurt. So the Niners need a more significant RB2. Brian Robinson would be a perfect RB2. He's a big kid. He's running for a contract. He wants a big money extension at the end of the year. You know, I don't think it would cost a lot to get him from the Commanders, a couple day 3 picks, possibly maybe a day 3 pick and some lesser player. I think Robinson's totally out there. If you want him, you can get him. There's talk that if you don't trade for him, they might release him. So I don't think they're getting a big haul for Brian Robinson. All the more reason for the Niners to pluck him. The Niners need a significant RB2 if they're going to win it all. 2 other names to keep in mind. Elijah Mitchell went to Kansas City as a free agent, but it looks like he's not going to make their roster. If he doesn't make their roster, he's at the cutdown. He's out there. I could see Shanahan pouncing. Mitchell never fumbles. He knows the offense. He runs strong between the tackles. He's healthy. In a lot of ways, that would be just a gift if Elijah Mitchell got cut loose by Kansas City because he knows the Niners system and he could step right in. The other name I'm even more excited about because I think it's a new, fresh idea, and that's Frank Gore Jr., Frank's kid, who's in Buffalo. And, he signed there as an undrafted free agent. This is a kid who was a prolific runner at Southern Miss. I mean, I don't know why he's been so looked over. He's a little on the small side, but he's not small. He runs through tackles. He averaged 6.5 yards a carry in the last preseason game. He caught 5 passes out of the backfield. I think deep down, he's probably a better natural receiver than his dad. He's not his dad, but there's no shame in that. But just because Frank Gore, ran for whatever he ran for, 18,000 yards or 16,000 yards, he's the 3rd leading rusher in the history of the league. And this was after he tore both his ACLs in college at Miami. That alone would make me interested in Frank Gore Jr. just because Frank Gore Sr., the mileage that he had was just astronomical. And if this kid's anything like dad in that way, he's going to have a nice, long, productive NFL career. So I really like Frank Gore Jr. He has some of the shiftiest interior cuts where he makes guys miss. I think he could be really good in the 49ers system, and I would absolutely pound the table for the Niners to sign Frank Gore Jr. Now is the right time. He got his cup of coffee with Buffalo. He's got his feet wet. He's about to play his best football right now, and it should be in a 49er uniform. So those are the 3 names at running back: Elijah Mitchell, Frank Gore Jr., and if you could trade for Brian Robinson. And you might even be able to add 2 of these guys. That's how many injuries you have in the backfield right now. All right, let's talk about wide receiver. The Niners lost out to the Eagles in a trade for John Mechie. They just didn't have as good an offer as the Eagles had. But it's an indication that the Niners are not really fully satisfied with what they have wide receiver wise. And why would they be? They've got a bunch of cast-offs and old guys and just, rookies. And it's just a mix mash of all kinds of guys in there. You got special teamers and guys who can't play from scrimmage and, guys who had a career once upon a time and are trying to rekindle it. Guys who kind of missed their career along the way, the Robbie Chosens, the Russell Gages. Then you got these developmental guys like Tariq Owens, and it's just a full room of guys, but not that many guys you can actually depend on. So let's take a look at some of the wide receivers that could be available at the cut down. First of all, if you're wanting that Deebo Samuel type piece to the puzzle, Laviska Shenault would be a perfect Niner. He's a running back. He's a receiver. He's a very good return guy. He's kind of like a Cordero Patterson. He had a 97-yard kickoff return against the Niners just a year ago. Malachi Corley for the Jets, who Robert Saleh drafted just a year ago with Douglas when they ran the Jets. They took Corley in the third round. If they liked him in the third round last year and they're consistent with their evaluations, then Saleh probably would want him here too. Corley and Shenault are a lot like Deebo Samuel. And I think that they would fit a nice role within this offense. Romeo Doubs, we're talking about trades of Brian Robinson. Romeo Doubs is available from Green Bay. Now, it would probably cost you next year's fourth round pick, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. But I think probably roughly a 26 fourth round pick probably gets it done. Maybe you could get him for a fifth. I don't know that, but maybe I think the price for the Niners from Green Bay would definitely be higher than other teams because of the rivalry. But Doubs is exactly the piece that they need right now. They need a solid NFL receiver who can make plays on all three levels, who can, who's got experience, this isn't his first rodeo. Rookie receivers often struggle, so these other options are more like rookie options. So Romeo Doubs, to me, would be the guy. I mean, if you could get Romeo Doubs, I think that would be the guy that I would absolutely target. I would target Brian Robinson in a trade. I would target Romeo Doubs in a trade. And I think the price is going to be reasonable. Now, two other rookies that I really like, or three other rookies. Giles Jackson from Antioch, who went to Freedom High School, was at the Niners local pro day. He's a small slot receiver with good speed who makes a lot of plays. He was great at Washington. Mario Williams was really good at Tulane and USC. All the guy did was score touchdowns. I think he had 17 collegiate touchdowns. Sure enough, preseason game number 2, Stetson Bennett, 38-yard play up top for a touchdown to Mario Williams. And yet the Rams have a deep wide receiver core. They're probably going to wind up cutting him. They took Cody Schrader from the Niners last year. I would say take Mario Williams from them this year and pay them back. Williams is a big-time player. I think he might even be a better player long-term than guys like Cowing, who was a fourth-round pick, and Williams went undrafted. The other guy that I think makes a lot of sense is Elijah Badger. Sacramento kid, went to Folsom High School. He's from South Sac. He ran 4.4, started off at ASU as a kick return guy, finished up running verticals at Florida, took the Ricky Pearsall path, ASU to Florida to the pros, went undrafted, signed by Kansas City, had 2 catches for 18 yards in the first preseason game. What I love about this guy, he's played everywhere. He's played the X, the Y, the slot. He's very versatile. He's got good speed. Kind of reminds me of Juwan Jennings. Really good hands, really good playmaker. Kansas City's going to try to slide him onto their practice squad because they like him. But he's not going to make their roster, and the Niners have openings, and this is when you have an opening, this is what you do. You pluck somebody's young star that you think can really help you. I think Elijah could absolutely succeed in the 49ers system. Badger, I think, could be tremendous in the Niners system. I think he would be exactly the kind of receiver that you want on the back end of your receiving core because he is versatile. He's got size. There's upside ability. This guy could emerge this year with just a good opportunity as a solid NFL receiver. So those are the receivers I like. Mario Williams from the Rams, Elijah Badger from the Chiefs, Romeo Doubs in a trade for Green Bay, Laviska Shenault from Buffalo is going to miss their roster. Malachi Corley is not going to make the Jets roster. All right, let's go to the defensive side of the ball because the Niners, obviously are a totally work in progress on defense. And they have a lot of good young defensive players, but young defensive players get hurt. And so they have opportunity on the defensive side of the ball. Now, I think the Niners are going to carry 6 linebackers. That 6th linebacker, though, I would not give it to Curtis Robinson, Jalen Graham, Stone Blanton. I would go outside the organization. Eugene Asante has had an incredible spring or summer for Miami. Chandler Martin has had a really good summer for the Ravens. They're both very much like Nick Martin, undersized linebackers with great physical ability, have great instincts, and fly around and make plays. Go get one of those guys. I would sign Asante first and Martin second. They're both violent linebackers who run, hit, really nice young linebackers. I mean, they're a little on the undersized side, just like Martin is. But man, Asante and Chandler Martin, Eugene Asante and Chandler Martin, I'd absolutely, if either one of those guys was cut loose by the Ravens or the Dolphins, I would absolutely pounce. There's a lot of talk out of Miami that the Dolphins are going to try to do whatever they can to slide Asante onto their 53, but it's a numbers game, and he could get caught up in a numbers game, and they could put him through waivers. And if they do, that's a guy you got to pick off if you're the 49ers. He's a really good young linebacker, and I think he's destined for a great future. Same with Chandler Martin. The Niners may need defensive tackle help. You know, there's always the need there. The Rams projection, I was looking at the Rams roster projection. They have Desjuan Johnson, who played at Toledo, who was Mr. Irrelevant the year after Brock Purdy. And this guy's a really good interior player. He's kind of an inside-outside player. He's about 280, 285. But, man, I really like Desjuan Johnson as an interior rusher, as a rotation player on your front, as a guy who can heat up the quarterback. The motor's there. The hand strength is there. He was productive in college. He's held on with the Rams, you know, as an undrafted, as a last pick in the 7th round. And it looks like his time there has run out. But to me, this is a nice player, Desjuan Johnson from the LA Rams. Really solid player. Another guy that I really like and I think is going to slip through the cracks is Kamon Rucker, who's in Baltimore's camp. This guy played at North Carolina. 36-game starter in college, 27 reps at 225, 14 and a half sacks over the last 2 years. He's a shorter defensive end, 6'1", 260, but the motor, the get off, the speed, the hand placement, I like everything about Kamon Rucker. He's a really good pass rusher. He's done some good things this summer, but the Ravens are deep. The Ravens are really deep off the edge, and they're going to wind up trying to slide Kamon Rucker. You know, Eric DeCosta is another great personnel guy. And, you know, these great personnel guys like, you know, Brett Veach and Eric DeCosta and, you know, some of these top tier personnel guys, Les Snead with the Rams, they're really good at stocking the back half of their roster and their practice squad. And this is where a team like the Niners, a young developmental team in some ways, can pick off a couple players and kind of jump the line. So I love Desjuan Johnson, love Kamon Rucker. The Eagles signed Azeez Ojulari in the offseason, but the talk is that Ojulari's not going to make the Eagles' final roster. You'd probably have to approach Howie with a 7th-round pick or some kind of day 3 pick. But if Azeez Ojulari, if you could get him from the Eagles for a day 3 pick, I think you should. He's got a ton of talent, ton of speed. Another guy that I really like off the edge is Nick Hampton for the Rams. I think he's going to wind up getting cut. Nick Hampton was a really good college rusher. And, of course, if you want to go out there and trade for Trey Hendrickson, you could. From what I've heard, the price tag has dropped from, you know, multiple first-round picks to a second-round pick and a player. You still got to satisfy Hendrickson with a $30 million contract extension, and you have Bosa, so it probably doesn't make sense. But that's an interesting name and a guy that anytime Trey Hendrickson's name comes up, you should be interested. Why? Because he's the total package, man. He's got strength, speed, motor for days. He's smart. He would be a great addition for the 49ers. I mean, if you want to send a loud message to the Niner locker room, if you're John Lynch, that we are all in on 2025, go pick up Trey Hendrickson, and the guys in that room will hear that loud and clear that you're all about 2025 despite all the youth on this roster. It's a good message to send. The Niners, you know, it would be an incredible trade to make. They've made incredible trades with CMC and Trent Williams in the past. This would be adding another core 30-year-old player. You could argue the Niners need more depth and they need another star 30-year-old player. So it may not be, the timing may not be right for the 49ers, but everybody knows Trey Hendrickson is one of the greatest pass rushers in the league today. The Niners did work out 4 prospects this week, and we'll see if they sign any of them today. Nate Sudfeld, who was a Niner in 2021 and is a 4-year NFL vet, worked out for the 49ers. He's 31. He was last in Detroit. He also had an injury in Detroit. We'll see what Sudfeld looks like. And then the Niners also worked out 3 receivers: Colton Dowell, Jalen Guyton, and J.J. Jones. Colton Dowell is 6'3", about 210 pounds. He's a 26-year-old receiver. Came into the league with Tennessee as a 7th-round pick in the 23 draft. He has 4.4 speed and good size. So not a lot of experience. Jalen Guyton's probably got the most experience. He's got a bunch of starts with the Chargers. He's got experience with Dallas, the Rams, and the Chargers. I really like Guyton of these 3 guys. 6'1", 212 pounds, 4.39. Has that sub 4.4 speed. He's got some ability to separate down the field. He's got some big playability. Jalen Guyton, I think, of this group is probably the most interesting. And then J.J. Jones, I looked it up yesterday, and I thought we were talking about a different J.J. Jones, the former Edmonton Oiler, who was a 5'10 receiver. This guy who's like 32. This J.J. Jones is the rookie who played at North Carolina, who's 6'2", 210, great athlete, high football IQ, was an undrafted free agent. So he's a rookie out of North Carolina. Athletic player for sure, and a guy that I'm sure was impressive in the workout. And one other name that I think the Niners may consider, we'll see. He's in Pittsburgh today working out for the Steelers for a second time, and that's Gabe Davis, the former Buffalo Bill, 26-year-old wide receiver coming off knee surgery. Niners worked him out. So did Detroit. So did New Orleans. So did Pittsburgh. So did, I think, one other team. Pittsburgh's now taking a second look at Gabe Davis. If it doesn't work out for him there, Gabe has stated that he thinks he's a perfect fit for the Niners. John Feliciano, ex-Niner lineman who's a former teammate of Gabe Davis, says that Gabe Davis is the perfect fit for the Niners. So we shall see, but that's another name to keep your eye on this week. I think somebody's going to wind up with Gabe Davis. And let's be honest, man, Gabe Davis is 26, and, he's a really good receiver. So if he's healthy, he's worth having as well. All right, so there you go. Some running backs, some wide receivers, a couple linebackers, some defensive linemen that all could be available here at the cutdown, either via trade or at the actual cutdown after they get released by their current team. The Niners should pounce, and those are the names, some of the names I like, and 4 of the guys that worked out for the 49ers in the last couple days. All right, thanks to Pig in a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Thanks to Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles. They're at 205 Cypress Avenue in Pacific Grove, California, along the Monterey Peninsula. Call Anthony Catania at 831-521-5264. For Pig in a Pickle, they're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week. So thanks to them for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. And thanks to all of you guys for supporting the Krug Show on YouTube.